Engineer Ametepe Ewo Ahomane, so or Registrar Ghana Engineers Council. Engineer, good morning. I'm to say.
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you too?
Good. Just a straight question. What's the challenge we have as a country towards this, I would say, the usual ritual of flooding?
Well, the ritual flooding within the country is as a result of, as you say, our inability to manage the flood system within the urban areas. Yeah.
When you say inability, with your background, whose inability? Who is responsible for that inability? And why have we arrived at this inability point?
No, flood management consists of several options. And so far in the country, we've been using virtually one option. That is the opening up of channels, lining up of channels, which is just one option. We need to change the paradigm from only opening up channels, looking at integrated form of flood management. What I mean by integrated is to look at how to deal with the flood upstream, to detain some of the water upstream, how to separate waste from the channels, and how to look at early warning within the basins.
So what it means is that Ghana has been used to one out of the many options in terms of flooding. Is that the case?
Yes.
Okay, so
that's what we've been doing so far.
Okay, so
but there is a need for us to change, to add up a complete, to make it complete flood management system that I've just enumerated.
You give your prescriptions or solutions to the challenges that we face, but before, are you able to tell us whether the council set up purposely for engineers and engineering, you have major say in some of these major contracts that the country has?
Well, I should say the Engineering Council is pretty new. We were just set up in 2015. We are now going through the stages of preparation of the engineering regulations, which we have just done, submitted to the ministry. The ministry has subjected it to stakeholder consultations. Now they are repackaging for submission to Parliament. So when this is done, then we will be properly equipped to be able to look at all engineering aspects of the country.
I see. So now you don't have that capacity for you to be on various projects that government is doing, even though you're qualified, but you're going through the process.
As I just said,
okay, so give us
new.
Okay,
and we need to have certain measures put in place before we can begin to, let's say, bite or work.
I see. Okay, so then the prescription will do now as a country.
Yeah.
What would you prescribe for us? Because it keeps happening, it keeps reoccurring. And all that we hear and see is committees being set up. It's, plans are far advanced. It's in the pipeline. These are all what we keep hearing as a country. Now, this is your field. What do you prescribe amongst the options for us? What is your prescription that a year by now or by this time, Ghana comes back and it's not going to be the same mantra of celebrating what we are supposed to avoid?
Yeah. First of all, let me say that flooding is a natural phenomenon. You cannot completely deal with flooding. At least you should be able to manage it so that people can adapt to the situation. As I just said, you see that let's take Accra, for example. We have the Adom as the main flood-prone area. Within the Adom basin, we need to identify potential areas where we can store the upstream flows that are, the Adom takes its source from Abri Hills. So we don't have to allow the whole flow from Abri Hills to descend onto the city at the same time to meet what is being generated within the city itself. So we identify areas upstream, store some of the water. We also identify areas within the community where we can store water. We also prevent people from increasing the level of pavement within their homes so that the homes themselves can also store some level of water. In fact, when you get to some homes currently, especially the rich people, you see that the whole house is paved. You can even see your face. If you look on the ground, you see it's a reflection. It shows that every water that drops in the houses are allowed to get into the channels, which is not the case. You don't design channels to take every drop of water. So measures should now be put in place to make sure that at least some level of water is stored in the homes so as to infiltrate. We harvest, rainwater harvesting, we store water at sources, and then we also add up the maintenance of waste, which we throw into the drains. These go to nullify the efforts that government will put in place to even provide infrastructure like drains. When you put a drain and you allow waste to flow into the drains, the drains can no longer function. First of all, the floating materials go in to block the channels at most points as the covered point, and they form localized flooding. In fact, if you look at Accra, most of the flooding that we have are basically localized flooding. Mm-hmm. You see a point, there's so much flood. You go to another place, there's no flood or very little flooding, but all on the same water course, which is as a result of our inability to manage the waste that we generate within the city. So we have to look at it integrated, no longer looking at it ad hoc. When we take ad hoc measures, we don't solve the problem, we rather create problems.
Well, in wrapping up with you, there are arguments that the whole structure at Circle has certain defects that does not help flooding. As an engineer, if we are coming from that point, what will be your take on it?
I partly agree with you and partly do not agree with you. Partly agreeing with you in the sense that when the Circle interchange was being planned, it had its own concept, that is to manage the traffic flow within the Circle area. So they provided a flyover, they removed the Circle, that runabout, provided well-paved areas, paved roads for vehicles to flow fluently. But the other component, which is the drainage, which is the Adom and the Nima. If you look at the flooding in Nima, most of it is being created from the Nima inability to get into the Adom channel. This component was not made part of the road project. Mm-hmm. Apparently, there may be two agencies looking at road, one looking at drain. So there was one agency looking at the road. It was that agency that came in. But there was a need at that time to see how the two agencies can put their heads together to see, I'm solving the road problem at this area. You come in to solve the drainage problem. But it will all boil down to funding availability. If the agency for roads has money for the roads and the agency for the drain do not have the funding at that same time, then it becomes a problem. One agency goes ahead, solving its problem, leaving the other agency's problem. Unless that other agency, which is tackling the road project, gets funding available to be able to solve the drainage problem at once, which was not the case when they were doing the flyover at Circle.
All right, Engineer Wise Ametepe, good morning, and thank you for your time. I'm sure we'll continue to have this discussion because it's...
Thank you
so much.
And I am a home, send me who says, as my I am Bogos country. Bogos country. Other than that, you can then say any people. You need to be at sir. And I find I am a human. As a man, the Italians are border, one. Yaka was some of the Biaka to go by Sabasan. Ye nim san no eye odo ensuo yi a eno so kwabrane ya so ye eno so de betwe ho man so ne the government of Ghana e de atale ho e na hwan eno akuro ya na asa abase ye nti odo no na entimi yes nti odo
exactly so politics will kill us. That was Ibrahim.
What a nonsense country.
Nana That's a Akojina a year circle, young Korean Korean is the aftermath of a year diacoso. Nana Machi.
Siada and Shotoe, Emma, Nanamo Kiafuom, Ebu Ruseno Danyankupansi, send no baye Ebersono. Now 1 hour was circle, and important Musu, Ebobina, as I said. Ensure back at Bakukra, if you wouldn't chance to dance on as I saw from one. And say Japadia never funny pankwa ediako. Na so be do circle like we said the brand show no toy na is a hangina agin show. Na said that enya one as I say ube drew her. Underground gata nanka da nanka wasanka show no efe ediagua any baller who do I want na just show no eto na is a twin ball na nyina edia wura gata ni mti nsua nanka was a fa gata ni mu enya dia afa gata ni mu bua faso ama nipa hudu a ewa ha no omuhu ade a kirom uhwe bola esum ha na yese ensuo eyese nei eto a na yese sa bola we nyina ensuo no batwi ni nyina ade awura goten mu enti akoba ne sa na se ensuo no twi gotan bola no awura goten mu a na nya de a ensuo ankasa ebetumi ewura mu enti eba ne sa na ebu afaso na afa nipa ene ejapade ahodo ade eto kwan na no de to yi to openyi a wono owa ha no ohunu de esiye no ye no ebedi nkomo na yahwe se edi importi ankasa na kosiade uzu se nsuo no to ye no ekoma nsuo no eyire fa so a ha nyina aka se wa ene japade e wa dudu na eseye.
I mean, one thing I met to me who because time now more overhead no fly over na wa me drivers no be here kasi e say gota yi omo yi gota no was since British time, underground gata pick 101 and 1 hour herself. I choke it for no one before next chemist. And I choke, and this one to me, and then you are not because old gatas in one, a son come by over it. I'm drink, I'm drink, not got any free. Me first away, Nama always a choking. Now, one thing so over run about, you know. I'm a common second. I say, oh, on say, Hanwakasa, I to say, baby, so anywhere, auntie. A sank Omuma street, Omuma Sunkosro, before the overhead. Oh, auntie, Omuma Sunkosra, since one tower, to a honu and tower, because I was slow. The son say, we're down for my when Ebano.
And Kosiada, a branch, you know, toy, no. Na papa ewa ha uhunu nia ekoso ewa nti ye pese bisa se nanu kwasia dai ekoba ne se nso to ye ha nyina yiri ye no na drivers ahodo a omwa ha na mu ye dwuma muso mu na mu ye bukuma na mu jiji sika de ma ban ne no ma no edi on how port e na de brem sa kwasia dan
hey it was terrible because ha nyina ye ma and I'm sure say on ade away ekwase pepe ha nyina man omunya adwane ebinum ko provide no top yeah cause let me ko nepa nti kasem bebre as and be train ebinum free akọ nti say me anu me se gata no na e problem
na unsusu se uhwe baby aye kan ya bola ye tai we a unsusu se bola no so kan we bra amudi bola egu we se nso to na se betwen bola no nyina e dia wura space kitwa na aka
bola no wonu en yamom na so bola no every day bia on be fa what me say every morning bia on be sisako sisiam wa aka kakro on be ba be sisako enti me feel say bola no do be bia wonu mo ndie enye nso enye bola no ndie dia nachi
nti sa na agwagosi wo seka nti uhwe baby a Kwame Nkrumah statue no ewo pe so fenim ho nyina sia nti uhwe station no still a ehwafo a asensuo no eta baby nkakra agi se wia atumi abon ne pa ansana eho nyina atumi awo enu nti aha na kwasiada no nsuo to yiri ya nipa hodo ene nipa na nam ha nyina omuka atumi kemu a ekoba ne se wo se nipa tumi sim ne ye pia ansana ka no atumi akọ nti o ma he no wo hwe
Okay, so
but I can be you be second qual and should do ya a flooding. And yes, second qual. But overhead fly over come say. Now said the engineer okay, ya and said I knew a dinner ye bet me a year near be a macasiana and sure to me a faho. Na Timemnia walk say water as a hollow at Tom Cacrantiana and Shuna Betina. Yana hunting. Okay. Send a man is casual and Yakwa query. Well, that's a dinner the Yanka one. Near Jessica, you really acquire a second nation, the Abinia side, Aqua Blocco Quine. Now, yes, I have seen a 2 dinners.
Okay, so that's it.
Madina cry overhead for free or we and also our problem or a house problem or
dinner.
New way, yeah, now we have a camera go swallow problem or well, a house is your toil, a unified swap, now for a castle, one move baby, I'm for almost off one road.
Well, so that's it. Ne Fapim said, ye didn't come in and Kaya Primudia collectively, in Yabeboa, ama Yentimin come manas and dasene, ye share the same time. Yeah. Young call Manoso, Dr. Michael Tenu, Director General, Ghana Meteorological Service, Ewa Manoso. Doc, good morning. Apom to say.
Apom you, now where?
And yes, such as one of the useful, important entities in Ghana. My checks over the time about the department, you know, HS a lot of things more lucky. So I'm wondering how well you are equipped now. Moving to me, my Ghana, the needed predictions in terms of rainfall. Isana Etiana.
Canada net is a because yenya equipment be a boy party. The ocean and saying a forecast, you know. Because abana to me, read the beer or my twist come on repair. No, the Edwin crab, brofon be fee, a brutraba, a juada ebby. No more be fix it. Now, you're saying your equipment be so a boy, ye to me. I did a view in Accra some no. After Jantino and Tissa first no. Not as you near my year at TBI, why ya or more year. Or what do you my part to met you and Tissa first now? Can you not send a net to know?
Okay, but Fachabe, so do we take the Metro Department serious now?
Yeah, some of BBI serious because if you are now fair and say, go there, your forecast now, they are spot on. You know, your forecast be I said, what the year Juma because say the year Juma a bit to me Abwama say a year near my ACC a bit to me a fan for and Quania Diano and Subebrase. Pa
Yakoya Nimino, I am out of so say a free a year met you for no. Motion from Moshe Musua, a fee if any Busume dada enemy, insurance of the Becosing.
Trisha, I say, and so top in the moon, one. Na April so the other year April May June the na pa but yeah coast to me I say ufi middle belt what I say asantine whatever Nkrane Cape Coast near you know almost ensure mum there anu no enye say en no so to say na pen no na mum enu so nkyere say nya dia say yenye nsu because you bet when nsu say bia beto ne e beto chena e beto na de chen the toss are 2 days by yana times no say yana ya so yaka ho because ye gottes no yana nkofo to dem agum ni ade ntino e men nsu no nya ba bi mfa nkofo so sisi dan wo nsu kwan so ntino yana dabeti na ama eyi nsu no enya ba bi mfa nta say busu na nam sa so etumi koso but if you're not there nsu no beto pa ntino say ye di bibia forecast bi e beto dwa bia no amafo msom den na mfanya adwuma na beboaye.
Well, until when we this year, no northern region should be Jinakasipa.
It should be Jinahopa, but middle and coastal belt never talk. And there is a ordinary normal rainfall and a little bit a normal. Into the end, they say, it's sure to do one there and new to say, send your union, Afibia, but and no interest and talk, send a may catch him sense because. And yes, you do one in here, but the mum said, but twa and now, you know, now, and then a bit not to China, you do ka you know asusuo time na say I say ko June mu ho no because nam le wo tia June na enema tashi sa 2015 ho no say June na sa normally that time June July wo I say very very careful ho na ye na yen ma yen tutu nema ngu gotanu mu mloko na enkoso any problem bia amaye.
Well,
say, question the share to a heavy downpour, and I say, normal.
Okay, Director General, Doc.
Yes.
Question that issue to more describing saying heavy downpour, and I say, beyond this, there's another heavy one. I'm going to description, Bemano.
Question so that trend and yet too much of a heavy downpour.
And yet too much.
Drainage system, no, you know, and I mentioned no buswa, far a coso trouble. No.
Okay, but
you need my horn number ina. Who's a drainage system in your papa? And I say about more than now I say, yes, I did not say a Nimunesia. It's look like a bit to piano, a bit to me, a bush, nothing, and I'm quan a quack, so they are then a bit to me, I cause a lot of trouble.
Well, me Musa say apart from daily updates, I understand some of them. No, me team, you know, me number BBI me team an alert system on my phone to indicate that ensure no beto was abia we and I'm onam hana se okwa and I upia patro careful is ensure beto and I say a we be pa more that alert system no.
It will be better and not so man kofunya and as you say a senior apps yes and kofobit me alcohol. Now the best is a bit me and see for name other Aina and I say you bit me a bibisa no bit me alcohol and I can say be alcohol. Now what to me but this year there nearby is normally the fire radio phone so I say momo so now you're there in the mammo but it should be a warning and an update to the Ayana and you benefit done it there and send me a buy no. Update na a warning, but if you send them thrown to the money, but I say, you're quite new idea. I say to me, really, Absibia, as a will be a bit to be alcohol, to say, accurate and my dear on their banner. Not a boy in because whether they are probably good in the Obiania, to Obia to the Abon by her, and Kofa, Ibia, same.
All right, look, but that's about you seem to be so much upbeat about technology. I'm sure, say, Oba adopt new ways of technology. I will met you on them just to make sure say Ghana for this ritual. Actually this year in Yapadi and in Yama Bibrino a 2 chakra and a minimum idea. Yeah, that's it. Doc, Ghana Meteorological. Is it service or department? Yeah, on the didn't command pay. It's all about a year insure nano data and near a different beam. Idea. Akoso na yesipo as a mind say it will not move beyond this barrier. So about say I feel disposal now apart from Yeshubano yenna you committee say Zoom lion yenna na say era just I think another there was another fear that yes me come kwanam say na one as you man another one shows the nanado call honum koka Shell filling station. Yeah, okay. Or another one. Okay, so the likes of area Zoom Lion almost contribution towards fighting waste. Moma also in some because it's very relevant. Obiaka aspect we are the other best show me should buy any disposal. Yeah, so it's very relevant. Yeah, it's very relevant.
We should support everybody.
Never talk about engineers and planners because last is it 4 years or so now Area Collins down a local government. That's how I got in touch with him. You know, that was when Utu and Namon said opposite or this or door whatever. And the same thing I've been saying over time. The politics of Ghana and a train in Abidjan this time. Yes, I'm back to this time. So that's how it is. But yes, sir, yeah, sure, sir, that's a bidin commoners in Zwata. These challenges across the country again. Na yaba and common shasianisa, but Mamenda Newman for say, Onugusu Yanoma Papa or Mikrum of Kenya say, DC or SUT North Anthony J. Mensa. Newman to 4, Yes, a 68 bed capacity. Newman for ISO. Omode Ekase Sophie Abofom. Na onebe Kenya si. Yeah, Kwada Hospital, and it's very important. Yeah, Konanoda and Kola Hospital Yakuhu obed in Yakuhu Swedro. Yes, Nanya the papa. So the Newman Fasi and Yada Mr. Nyako also that was Asafo a minister. Me uncle Nanoda no Newman Sharon Thai man, yeah. So, area Bobby, Region Mr. Bobby Thai, yeah.
What says the kind best time, they say you yes, also. Now, a common quality and let's try by
yeah, Nanas Pizza and Chop Bar.
Yes, also now, yeah, now you're more, na yenti ball and you just said to ball and we are